My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. Today I want to talk about Charlie Kirk's legacy. Charlie Kirk founded Turning Point USA. He was very popular as a right-wing political activist. He was shot and killed on September 10th during an appearance at Utah Valley State. He was only 31 years old. How do I feel about this? Obviously, all political violence needs to be condemned and not tolerated. Violence creates more violence. It's better to use ballots and win elections than to use bullets and to create more discord in the United States. Violence doesn't make a point. It makes everybody more angry, and nobody hears the original point. I have empathy for his wife, I have empathy for his children, I have empathy for even the people who supported him. He was very ambitious, he was definitely a leader. He helped a lot of young people get involved in politics, and he was definitely unapologetic when it came to his views. However, what was his legacy? Number one, he famously convinced thousands of young men that college was a waste of time and money. He did a really good job of that. But what was the result? That men have fallen behind women in every financial metric and category. And they've turned themselves into perennial victims. And half the time now, they're on social media complaining about the world, blaming everybody else, while they still sit at home in their parents' house, smoking marijuana and just playing video games. You could put a lot of this on Charlie Kirk. Not all of it, of course, because he's just one guy. But he was extremely influential with that group of men. If they would have went to college and got a degree in something that actually pays, obviously they're going to be much more valuable to the community, and they're going to have a much more ability to be able to have a good life. What else? He said giving rights to black people was a mistake, that Martin Luther King was a bad person, and that all Haitians who are black, they need to be deported just because they are black. Now, is Charlie Kirk a racist? I don't know him, but the words he said, definitely racist, and that's part of his legacy. He also pushed voter fraud conspiracies, COVID-19 falsehoods. He pushed a lot of his supporters to move to the January 6th insurrection, or at least support that, to believe that the election was somehow rigged, which of course it was not. His attacks on the CDC, just recently, somebody shot that place up, something like 200 rounds. Why would some, again, conservative Republican decide to shoot the Centers of Disease Control? How does that make sense in this world? Luckily, the only person he killed eventually was himself. What's Charlie Kirk's legacy here? Well, thousands upon thousands of deaths, needless, because he pushed people without any evidence. He's not a doctor, he's not an epidemiologist, not a virologist, but helped convince a lot of people that getting a vaccine was the wrong thing to do. Thereby, many people died that didn't need to. So that's on him. Not all of it, but definitely part of his legacy. Continuing, he also said that gay people need to be stoned to death. Interesting. Okay, like again, he should not have died the way he did. I'm a human being. I don't want to see anybody get shot. But we can't say that he's a good person. No good person says that other people need to be stoned to death for their sexuality. He also said that the LGBTQ community are predators, when in fact they're much more likely to be victims. So let's look at some of these quotes, because we can talk about this all day long, and I know there's going to be some Republicans that are just going to stand up for him. And if you want to get a Republican really angry right now, just read Charlie Kirk's quotes, which is really odd. Why would you get angry about hearing him of what he directly said? Makes no sense. Unless, of course, you're just going to stand up for him, saying that he's this great guy for whatever reason, because he's Republican, because he supports Donald Trump. But we do have to go by what he actually said. Quote, "I think it's worth it to have the cost of gun deaths every year so we can have the Second Amendment right to protect our other rights." So how many deaths would you say is okay? Because he was one of them. Also, there's been about 50,000 gun-related deaths in the United States every year. Is that enough? Or is that just right? Or do you need more? How many deaths is it okay that we need before we start looking into maybe universal background checks, some type of gun control? Now, liberals are not trying to take away people's guns. They just want to see some type of background check. Is that okay? It doesn't seem to be for a lot of Republicans. There's been 300 mass shootings in the United States this year, and we're not even through September. What did Charlie Kirk say about school shootings? Like, nothing negative. And by the way, the day that he got shot, there was another school shooting. Are we going to fly flags at half-mast for them? No, we don't do that. But Trump is going to do that for the guy is supporting this kind of garbage. So if you want to blame liberals for this, number one, a liberal didn't shoot him. It was another person who was on the right side, conservative, with another person shooting a conservative, but then you're going to take it out on the liberals. It makes no sense. More quotes. Black women like Joy Reid, Ketanji Brown Jackson, Sheila Jackson Lee, and Michelle Obama used affirmative action because they don't have the brain processing power to be taken seriously. So they had to steal a white person's slot. Okay, this is interesting because Charlie Kirk was a community school dropout. And I don't know about all four of them that he mentioned here, but definitely 3 of them are Harvard graduates. And he's talking about brain processing power? Why would he say that? Again, it's because in this day and age, if you get popular for saying provocative things, hateful things, you can get popular. It never made him smart. It just made him popular. I don't have the exact quote on this, but he did say something to the effect of he wouldn't fly on a plane if he saw a black pilot, right? Because he would be worried if the black person was just given the job. Again, is he racist? Everything seems to point to that, right? So that is his legacy. Another quote, "I can't stand the word empathy. Actually, I think empathy is made up. It's a new age term, and it does a lot of damage." Now, here's a guy that professes to be a man of the Bible, right? He's supposed to be so religious. I know a bunch of religious people that just love him because he says he's religious. We really have to take a look at that, because I wonder what Bible he is reading from. I mean, if Jesus is anything, he's empathetic and loving. What Bible is he getting? What message is he getting? what he says he doesn't believe in empathy. It's made up by us liberals. Like, that's crazy. Like, the Bible he's reading, it doesn't exist. Crazy. Also, empathy. We want to get into this. Empathy is a higher brain function that many conservatives lack. You could see this on MRIs. You can detect with a lot of accuracy, just looking at somebody's brain, if they're conservative or liberal. A liberal brain is going to be able to have more capacity for empathy. A conservative brain is going to have more capacity for being emotional, for being disturbed or disgusted by things or people who are different than them. Their amygdala, the fear center of the brain, is going to be more pronounced. And you can see this because most of the stuff, most of their rhetoric is all about fear and hating people who are different than them and being extremely judgmental. You can see this on MRIs. It's just a fact. Let me read this real quick because, again, he attacks people over and over again. And the one thing that you're going to see on Fox News is that transgender people are these violent human beings and they want to take away their gun rights. Okay, so now we're okay to take away gun rights as long as it's someone who's different than you. So let me go through this real quick. In 2025, there were 4,147 mass shootings based on Gun Violence Archive data, which defines mass shooting as at least 4 people being shot, not including the shooter. This means there were 4,140 mass shooters who were not trans and only 7 shooters who were trans. 7 out of 4,147 is 0.17%. That's not 17%. It's 0.17%, or 17% of 1%. Said another way, out of every 10,000 shooters, only 17 would be trans, and the other 9,983 shooters would be trans. So real quick here, because this is on Fox News, that they say 17% of the mass shooters are transgender. See, again, they're so unintelligent that they're saying it's 17%. It's 0.1%, less than 1%. They're not understanding. And again, when we look at Fox News, it's not news. They already got sued for almost $1 billion for lying. And in the court case, they said no normal person would think that Fox News is actually news. It's entertainment. It's political entertainment. And yet conservatives still watch Fox News as news. Let me say it again. It's not news. It's entertaining. It's supposed to be entertaining for people who lean conservative. It's not the news. They're not being held to a standard of telling you the truth. But not telling the truth, like in this situation, hurts people. It kills people. 7 trans shooters in 8 years works out to 1 trans shooting every 417 days. Preachers commit sex crimes against children at an average rate of 1 a day, the same time frame that would yield 1 trans shooting, would also yield 417 preachers exposed for committing sex crimes against children. Operative word, exposed. That means that there's actually a lot more. Yet society is still reluctant to draw a connection between being a preacher and a predator, even as some on the right are discussing whether there is a pattern of violence involving transgender individuals. And here's something else too. Whenever somebody says, I'm Christian, all of a sudden everybody thinks, oh, that's a good person. The amount of children and people who get sexually abused in religion is extremely high, as evidenced by what I just told you, and we already know this. So what's my conclusion here? Charlie Kirk was an influential figure. That's true. Unfortunately, the world is a much worse place for him having been in it. He pushed racism, he pushed misogyny and homophobia under the false pretenses of being a good Christian. But I still believe in free speech. And because I believe in free speech, sometimes you have to put up with people who use hate speech. And unfortunately, a lot of people are moved by that, and people follow that. But that's part of what you have to deal with in a free country. And hopefully it remains free. Because already Donald Trump has been talking about trying to silence liberals and Democrats. Why? They didn't cause this. They didn't shoot Charlie Kirk. Again, it was another conservative who did that. It was a person from a very conservative family. And he was straight, and he was white, and he was Mormon, not transgender, not a minority. My name is Joe Peroni. This is the Rise Above Project. Please subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you.